Hi everybody. Today we're working on stepping stones for your garden. My name's Catherine Martin. I'm going to be with you in this library arts program. We're going to start first by showing you all the supplies that you received in your zippy bag. Okay, so if everybody would just open it up, I'm going to show you everything that's in here one by one. Okay, so first you have a plastic glue. And then you have a large zippy bag and a small zippy bag. I'm going to open this. In here is a really delicate shell. So I'm going to show you that. Okay, a seashell. And then you have a whole bunch of other seashells that are in another zippy bag, all different kinds of sizes, shapes, colors, all different objects. There's tiles. There's seashells, there's ceramics, different colors. There's a whole bunch of marbles, there's rocks. Everything that you could ever want is in here for your stepping stone. There's glass pieces. And also in here I put a mixing stick. And there's a whole bunch more items in here. So before you get started with the actual project, you might want to sort out your stepping stone materials so that you could decide what you want to use, what order do you want to put them in, things like that. And I'm taking them all out so you could see. Now, if you have any of your own kinds of items that you have around your house that you want to use, you can go ahead and get those ready, and then you could put those into your stepping stone as well. So let's explain the concept of a stepping stone first of all, just to go over it. So there's two ways or two rationale behind this. The first rationale is that this is actually really, and here's one that I made, this is really a stepping stone that you could really step on for your garden. Like you can walk upon it. So if you want to make it so that you can walk upon it, this is a different type of style right here. So this one, notice everything is flat. And there are seashells in here, but they're very small and tiny and they're not sticking up. So this is a great one that you could walk on. Of course, yours later, when it hardens, you'll take it out of the aluminum. So I just left these in to show you. So that could be a real stepping stone you put in the garden or you walk on. Now, the stepping stone that we're thinking of today is a stepping stone that might have seashells in it. And we've included a lot of different types of seashells, especially some that are larger, that stand out or stick out from the actual stepping stone, so it's not flat. And also, if you're going to use this great big seashell that I gave you, that wouldn't be a great item to step your foot upon it. Now, if you're using it in the way I'm recommending, it would be beautiful out in your backyard, in your garden. Okay, and even though it's called a stepping stone, you're going to just use it for a garden piece. So you could put as many seashells in you want. They could be sticking up, it would be perfect. Different pieces could be sticking up, and you're just going to look at it in your garden to get the beautiful idea of the cement, all the pieces, how they stick together, and so on. So that's the rationale. So think about which one you're choosing. Are you choosing an actual real stepping stone? That's fine. You can, but don't put anything like that's sticking out. Just put flat pieces. Or if you're choosing a garden piece, stepping stone, where you're going to just look at it in your garden and it will last forever, you could put very elaborate seashells and things like that in it, because as long as you don't step on them, they're not going to get crushed. Okay, so you could decide which one you'd like. So based upon that information, everybody has this canister, and it's filled with actual cement that you could see that's dry. So with your mixing stick, right, you can see that it's made out of powder. So this is a cement product. Now what I want you to do is take your stepping stone aluminum piece, you take the cover up, and then you could just move the cement around and see if you have any large pieces of cement like that need to be crushed up. So it needs to be a fine powdery consistency. Now you'll shake it left and right like this till you get all the cement nice and flat. And you can do this outside, in your basement, in your garage, you know, on a patio table, something like that. It gets a little dusty once you start moving the mixture around, but it settles down once we start adding the water, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes. So some supplies that you're going to need to have with you are the cover. The table has to be covered with, let's say, a newspaper, garbage, you know, that you could throw it away. You're going to need a cup of water from your regular sink. You don't need anything special. A large cup is good. And then you're going to need some napkins, or paper towels would be even better. And we have to get this cement to the perfect consistency. What does that mean? Well, it means that we're going to add water little by little, and we're going to mix it with our mixing stick. And as we mix it, it's going to change consistency. It's going to become, instead of a powder, it's going to become a paste. So if you ever baked cookies or brownies or anything, you know that at first you have the flour, it's dry, you mix the wet ingredients, and then it turns into a liquidy mixture. So here the same thing. We want to get the right consistency for this, and we don't want to have a lot of water on the top at the end, because believe it or not, this has a consistency or a density, and it will take all the objects in the top layer here, and as you let it dry for 48 hours, then it becomes hardened and you can't remove anything from it. So once I got all my seashells set up, all my design in order, and I have everything organized, I have my nice quiet place where I'm going to work, my back table with newspapers, and I have my cup of water. And then very slowly I'm going to start to pour my water into my cement mixture. And I'll do a little bit at a time. So you notice it got a little dusty just then. I'm going to take my mixing stick and start mixing it. This is the part that takes a few minutes. And notice how it's changing consistency. So I just mix it in and go all around, make sure I don't have any dry sections. And I don't overdo it on the water on the first try, because I just wanted to start absorbing. But I can see here that I definitely need more water. So some parts are dry still and some parts are getting wet. And that was my dog, so she is part of the video. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're mixing. And we're getting a good consistency. Notice how very slowly the cement is starting to pick up the water. It's turning pasty. And again, if you think about when you're baking cookies, brownies, whatever, it starts to change its form. And so you have a few bubbles here. You have a nice pasty consistency. And I just keep going round and round and round until I make sure that I've incorporated all the dry. Now notice I'm not adding more water because I want to use up the water that I have. And I want to make it so that it's more on the drier side. So I just keep going round, mixing it, absorbing all that water, making sure that I'm hitting the bottom layer. Remember, after the 48 hours, when we're finished with this project and it dries for 48 hours, basically what's going to happen is you're going to flip it up out of the aluminum. So the aluminum is only a resting place that the cement is going to stay for 2 days. Okay, and I keep mixing. And notice how nice it's starting to turn. Okay, but it does look like I need a little bit more water, so I'm going to add some here. So I got to incorporate this part. So this is the part that's going to take the longest amount of time. And again, making sure that I'm hitting the bottom. Incorporating all this water in. And it's actually getting rid of all the powder. The powder's nice and wet. I still have little puddles of water. I want to get rid of that. And the reason I'm taking my time with this and showing you the details of it is because it's important that it has a certain consistency. Once we get it all incorporated, it's going to be nice and an even texture. See how right now it's so lumpy? Remember, just add a little bit of water at a time. And then keep incorporating that. So this took a few minutes. I'm going to incorporate a little bit more water. Just small amounts. Just to be on the safe side. And then I get a nice flowing consistency. See how it's starting to really be smooth? Okay. And so I'll brush it a few times back and forth. Just to make sure I got it. I got it all. And just like if you make brownies or cookies, you want to make sure that you're getting all the parts. Okay, so now I'm just going round in big circles. I'm trying to get rid of any dryness. And it looks like I'm almost there. So now slowly what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to even out the cement. And what does that mean? Well, it just shows that I'm brushing it to make sure, just checking it one last time, making sure that I got a nice consistency. I don't really have too many lumps, so that's really good. Because dry lumps in here are not going to be good for the project. So the thing about cement is that it takes usually 48 hours to dry, and it likes to be in a nice quiet place when it's finished to let it rest, so that all the little molecules in there, the atoms, right, they're changing from they were dry and now they went to a liquid. So they have to incorporate that water into the powder, with the powder. And looks like we did a really good job mixing it. And just like you bake cookies, make brownies, you could see it's really getting good. So now I'm just going to smooth it. And another way to really do this in a easy, quick fashion is you can just jiggle it, like turn it from left to right a little. I'll show you how. I'm going to remove the cover. We don't really need that right now. And so I could jiggle it like this back and forth until I get a nice flat type of top. Now if it's not working that way for you, you can just go like this with the stick. And look, an air bubble just popped out, but that's okay because we're going to be putting a whole bunch of cool objects in here. And remember, when you talk and think about your objects, if you have some things at home like something of your favorite, a marble, a seashell, like a little toy from when you were younger that you don't want it anymore. Remember, once you put it in here, it's not coming out. It's going to be stuck forever. But it's stuck in a good way that you could see it while it's in your garden. So if you have any pottery or seashells broken, something that's broken that you feel like you want to incorporate it. If you have colored glass, that always looks really beautiful. And that's why I gave you a whole bunch of colored tiles. Okay, so let's talk about the cement for a couple minutes here. And notice how the cement is dry. Although, look, I can move it. There's no real, you don't really see any water in here at all. So that's how you're going to know if yours is ready. If you have water or any water at all on the top, after you let it rest for a couple minutes, like as I'm playing with it here, moving it around, notice I don't have any separated water. And that's a perfect step. If I would, or what you could do is take a napkin and go like this. Just press it really lightly on the top. If there's any excess of water, it will come right off. But mine isn't really, it's just picking up some cement. So I know I'm pretty good. But sometimes people put a little bit too much water in, and then they have like a water layer. So we want to make sure we don't have that, because it's, look how thick it is, and it's nice and dense, meaning the objects that it's going to accept, that we're going to put in here, are going to be staying on the top. They're not going to sink in, and that's our objective, because since the stepping stone is being done right side up, we don't want the objects to sink in. We want them just to sit on the top. And my experience has been, if it's nice and dry like this with no liquid, it works beautifully. Okay, so at this point, if yours looks similar to this, where there's no water and it's nice and even, see how I evened it out here? Made it nice and flat. And again, how did I do that? With my little stick. So you could play with it for a little while, make it nice and flat, make it even, so hopefully your table's nice and even. And that's going to create a beautiful surface for us on the top. Then you could put your little stick aside, and if you need to wash your hands or wipe things down, make sure your tray is nice and flat. And I'm just trying to make sure you guys could see this really well. You can turn it, decide how you want to position your pieces, and now we're going to get to do that next. So the first one that I want to start with today is the largest piece that I have, and that was this giant seashell. So if you think, and if you like the seashell, if there's something in the pieces that I gave you and you don't care for them, or you think they're too big or too small, then you can skip them. But you can then put your own in if you prefer. So so this one I'm going to think about, look how much room it's taking up, so I might get a position around, think about where I might want to put it. And I see I have another one here, so maybe I'll go for this one. It's a little bit smaller, so maybe I'll put this right here. Now when you put them in, you're going to tap them with your finger, and you're going to make sure they're ever so slightly into the cement. Now you're not pushing them under, you're not squeezing them down. Notice it's not sinking unless I push it. So that means the density of the material is the object that I just put in, this seashell, is much lighter than this density of the cement. And that's what we want, because we want it to float or be on the top. So I think I'll stay with this seashell to start. I'm going to hold my other one, the larger one, on the side. And then I'm going to make my arrangements of all my pieces. So I'm just dumping everything out. And I'm going to take a look at some of the pieces that I have here. So here's a seashell. And again, I'm just pushing it in ever so gently. And I have ceramics. I think I'll put this one here. And you can make them so they touch. And then again, push it in a little bit so that it's covered on all of its sides. and that the cement is just gently pressed around it like that. Notice they're not sinking in, they're staying where they're put, meaning the cement is holding them up. Now once this hardens, these pieces cannot be removed. They will not be able to be removed because they are going to be stuck in the cement. The cement hardens around the pieces and it will be there forever. Okay, so let's take a look at some other things. We have so many choices here. Plus, I'm sure that you probably have some things that you want to put in. Here's a really fun rock. I'm going to put that in. I like that. And when I put them in, if I make them touch or go up against the other pieces, I just have to make sure everybody's nice and stuck in there. Okay, then I have some marbles. I might put some of these in. And you can do it in any kind of way you choose. Here's a round marble. Look how fun that one is. Push them in just a little bit so they're nice and stuck in there. If you don't push it in enough, that means that when it dries, the piece could still be loose. So I want to make sure that the pieces are not loose. Here's a little piece of glass chip. Some of you have in your kit. Here's a little tile. And again, just very gently press them in with your finger. If they happen to get some of the grout or the cement comes up on top or over it by chance, we can clean that off in a little while at the end. Here's a piece of a marble. Here are some more tiles. And notice that the cement is sort of like a fluffy. It has like a fluffy feel to it. You can always bring back that little stick that you had. Like this little marble right here, this glass piece. I'm not liking exactly how it's setting here. So what I could do is just gently, gently, gently touch the sides. And just make sure it's a little bit covered up. That's better. Okay, so now I'm going to think about some more pieces. Here's another fun seashell. You could gently rock them back and forth, gently pressing them in. Notice how it squished down a little bit on there. That was really fun. Here's a little chip, a glass chip. And then I'm going to make another pattern. This one has a little bit of grout on the back of it and a little bit of piece of adhesive that's on the back. So I just want to make sure I cover that. But it looks good. You can even touch it with your finger. And just make sure you don't cover up the top. This is really fun to do because you can gently position them into the space and spot you like. Okay, so I did my inner part of my stepping stone, and now I'm going to work on my outer. I really like these tiles. I gave you a couple glass beads. Stick those in. Really fun. There's all different kind of colors, so think about your colors. Think about how you're pressing them in, your design. And if you want to change your mind about something, like let's say you put it in and you really don't care for it too much, at this time when it's still liquidy, you can make a change. So let's say I wanted to change my mind about the seashell. I could still lift it up and take it out, and I could wash it off because the cement is still liquidy. And if you have something in there that you changed your mind about, maybe the size is too big, or maybe the color wasn't just right for you, you can still pull it out. So this one I want to just cover up over here a little bit. I want to make it so the cement is touching the sides. This one had a little bit of a, the way that it was cut. And these are from old dishes or pieces that, you know, were obtained like a garage sale or something that people didn't want anymore. And they're really colorful pieces, so they bring a lot of texture to your design. So think about that too, how you're positioning the pieces. Think about the colors, the textures, the shapes. How full do you want it? That's another thing. You can make it, you know, mine are mostly touching each other, which I love. You don't have to do it this close. You don't have to make them touching. But I like it like this because it's really fun to see all the different types of styles. And just keep on pushing those pieces in. Remember, when this dries, it's going to be a thickness of more than an inch thick. So it's going to be solid, you know, as far as if you really were stepping on it. This is a great memory piece if you have anybody that you want to keep alive with memories, or this could be a special design for some sort of other memories that you might want to keep or have in your garden. You could write somebody's name or put somebody's name in this. Anything that you have at home, you can add. Any kind of designs, any kind of pieces, things like that. Okay, so now along the outer edge, I'm going to think about pieces that could sort of like frame it off and make it look finished. And then I want to go back and I want to check all my pieces to make sure I like how they're settling in. Are they deep enough? I could go back and touch them all and make them a little bit deeper. I can add a couple of little pieces into the corners. And so far, I'm loving this design. Let me turn it a little bit so you could see it. And keeping your container nice and flat. I'm thinking I might want to use this one. So where might I put it? The way that this dries also is based on the humidity of the weather. So if it's a very humid day when you make this, it's going to dry that much faster. And you can actually feel in this, the top layer of the cement is already, look, it's not even accepting a fingerprint. But you can keep going, and as long as you're pressing them in, it's going to be fine. So I'm just going to make sure that everything is pressed in. You could gently tap them with your finger. And look how fluffy this is. Cement is really fun to work with because when you get it to the right consistency, you could do a lot of different fun projects with it. So I'm just going now over each one. I'm tapping it with my finger. I'm making sure that it's nice and stuck. If there were any air bubbles in there, they'll be pressed out or pushed up. And everything looks very secure. This is a fun and beautiful piece. Okay, so once we check them all, we go around and we're tapping them. And I think mine is just about ready. As far as I like it, each piece is secured. I got a beautiful little style to it. And each one is accepting the cement and secured in here. Now, think about in the end how we're finishing it up. You don't have to do anything else, like you don't add any extra water. You're not going to make any changes to the top. This, whatever you see here, is going to be the way that it's going to be framed and finished and hardened. So what this likes now, the cement likes to just stay nice and quiet for the next 48 hours. You'll probably see it change ever so slightly in color. This actual white is a beautiful color because it usually gets a little bit lighter. And notice how all the colors of the pieces really are accentuated by the background. There are other color cements that are darker that they look beautiful as well, depending on what kind of pieces you put in. So this is going to come out gorgeous as far as the colorations, the mixtures that we put in, how it hardens. They're all accepted into the cement. And this basically just needs now time to be nice and quiet by itself, and 48 hours later it's going to be nice and hardened. So what you do at this point, when we finish up the video, you're going to put this in a nice, safe, quiet place. So wherever that would be, you could put it in your garage so that nobody touches it and that it doesn't fall or tip over, and that no animals, you know, step in it or anything like that. You don't have to put the cover back on. You can if you want to and just check it. But if you do put the cover back on, just leave it open as far as I'll show you. You don't have to seal it on here. You could just leave it so it's a little bit open like that. And it's not even necessary. It's probably better that it just air dry as quickly as, you know, the 2 days are going to allow. And when you go and check on it in 2 days, you might want to just tap it very gently and see if it feels completely hardened. When you'll see the separation, you see about the sides here with the aluminum, you'll see a separation that's going to occur because this is going to shrink just ever so slightly, and it will pull away from the sides just a tiny little bit. So then you're going to know that it's ready, that it's done drying. If you don't see a separation in 2 days time, just leave it for another day, because by that time you should start to see it separate from the sides. Once it separates from the sides, so let's say it's 3 days, you can gently take it out of the aluminum. So you'll turn it upside down, maybe holding it on your hand, turn it upside down, take away the aluminum, and then it should be really secured and tight and dry. So let me just show you the other ones that I made, how they worked in the drying process. Okay, so here's the container. Notice on the sides, right, it separates. It's not stuck to the sides anymore. So I would just gently turn it over. Okay, and I get the bottom. And then gently turn it back over. And then this is going to be your stepping stone for your garden. Okay, and look how beautiful the pieces stay in there. And you have a secured, it's at least over 1 inch thick on the sides. So it would look gorgeous in your garden. And then here's your aluminum. You can get rid of that. And you have your beautiful stepping stone. Okay, so take one last look at your design. Let it rest. And good luck. Happy summer. And I'm glad you've enjoyed this program with us. You could stop the video at any time and replay it so that you can make your design very personalized. Thank you, Catherine Martin, and have a great project. Enjoy.